Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, it's Regit and welcome to an interesting question that I had been asked. What would you do if you were hired at Ponos? A nice sounding job for someone who's been on this game for such a long time. I took the question to mean hired at Ponos with a position of power, being able to make choices and changes. I assume if I was just hired, I'd just do as I was told. So what I've thought of talking about for this is not your typical Dear Ponos fare necessarily, because I could talk about a lot of little different things that I changed, but I want to go for some principal big things that I would add, change, or remove, and I'll go through it in that order. So the first thing I would add is a feature that you are probably familiar with in terms of my request for it. That is the ability to hide event stages and also legend stories stages down here that you have done or just generally want to hide to minimize the space that the menu takes up. For example, in this menu right now, I have absolutely no need anymore for Most Defeated 2019, Day of Judgment, Typhoon Nemo, Second Dimension, Red Sky at Night and Morning, Bitter Irony and indeed Sweet Irony, Wrath of the Divine, Wrath of Heaven, Peerless 2, Peerless, Crimson Vengeance, Crimson Catastrophe, Reindeer Fish Awakens, Green Morning Go, Jingle Cat Bell, and the Challenge Battle for now. Let's remind ourselves of what that might look like. My idea is that you could implement a little icon system that would allow you to visually remove stages that you don't want on the menu, so that you could click a minus icon of a stage, for example, that you've completed but isn't a farming stage to get a unit you've already got, for example, that you will never need to go back to. You could press the minus button on that and it would disappear from the menu. And once you got rid of all the ones you wanted to, you just have the stages you want to play right there for you, so you don't have to scroll and look about for which one you want to enter. I think that would make the menu a lot cleaner, and then there'd also be a button to replace these stages in case you'd accidentally, for example, got rid of one you didn't mean to, or for some reason felt the need to go back to one of those stages. The advantage of doing this is that you have a much slimmer and more slender menu that you can easily navigate through and only have what you want up there, instead of having to endlessly scroll. I love the addition of this scroll bar, but wouldn't it be nicer if you could scroll through just the things that were important to you? The next big principal element that I would add is a practice run option. This would be situated roughly above the equip button, and what it would allow you to do is take a practice run of the level for half the energy that it normally costs. As a trade-off to that, you wouldn't be able to win. The base HP would minimum at 1 and not go below that, but everything else within the level would work exactly the same way. What that would enable you to do is practice on ridiculously energy-thirsty stages such as this one without having all your energy go in almost an instant. This solves the problem of not being able to force close within no continue stages without the problem of trying to introduce the force closing, what some people call exploit, to no continue stages as well. You'd have to just spend half the energy. You couldn't win, but you could get for yourself a very good idea as to how you might beat the level. You're not gaining any extra insight into the level than there would be otherwise. It operates in exactly the same way. You're just having the ability to scout it out in a more efficient way and a more fair way. For stages with restrictions, the button would just move up slightly above conditions. And then you'd have a nicely neat battle menu still. One that doesn't originally come from me as a request, but many other people, and I can see the virtues of it, is the ability to de-level and de-talent units. That is, that if you wanted a chill cat that was bog standard to test instead of a much better, more acceptable talented one, you could reduce the level to just level 30 and take away the resist, weaken, defense and attack buffs, as well as making it a bit more expensive again. Thus, that allows people to have a go at challenges within the game, and perhaps more importantly, be able to make tutorials for certain stages regardless of what stage of the game they're at. We've already got the ability to change the forms of cats. I think it might be nice if we added the ability to de-level and de-talent them, and then we can put them back on when we're done with that. The final thing I would add would be a website, a specific website made for recommendations and suggestions for changes, additions, additions and removings within the game. I'm able to make these suggestion videos with a decent but waning audience, but other people with brilliant ideas aren't really getting the interest for their ideas that the ideas deserve. You'd have a suggestion system with a sort of text box and image space for putting in proof of concept stuff should you have that, and then these ideas can be sent to Ponos so they know what people are really looking for. One specific place that can be searched through by employees to find ideas that might improve the game. I really feel that that is a very important essence of a democracy. The player base is showing the makers of the game what they want and how it could be implemented. As for what I'd changed, an idea that didn't come from myself is to combine the upgrade and equip menus. They serve quite a similar purpose in that both of them have menus that you can sort through your units in, except you have to go to one of them to upgrade units and you have to go to another one of them to put units in your lineup. Why can't you, as this person suggested, have them in both the same menu so that you can upgrade a unit or choose not to upgrade it while you're putting it in your lineup? It would be based more broadly off the way that the equip menu works at the moment, and I've created a couple of images to show what that might look like. We get rid of the explanation bar to the left and simply have that information underneath the cat art. Then that leaves space for a little upgrade menu on the side, and you need not worry about being able to have unit info because that covers and can uncover the equip just the same as it now does. What this will enable is us to have one menu that we can do all these different things in. As well as being more streamlined and efficient, it helps people save time going back and forth between the menus. One thing I would really like to change is the premium gold pass for the Battle Cats Officers Club. At the moment, it gives you a gold card, which I don't object to, but also a load of cat food, rare ticket, and loads of speed ups. What I see this as is simply a cat food bundle that you'd buy in the shop elsewhere in the game. I feel like it's a massively missed opportunity to what could be a premium subscription version of the Battle Cats for being a gold member player, and this is how I would structure it should I have the power to change it. Officers Club would be a £2.99 a month subscription, something that even someone as stingy as I would pay, that would increase all the reward amounts that you get from levels, XP, cat fruit, tickets, things like that, and the chance of gaining those rewards. For example, if it was a 50-50 chance, it would go up to a likely chance if you had the gold card. The energy cap and energy recovery speed would be increased. For example, 3 energy a minute as opposed to 2 energy a minute. The gold pass would double the storage sizes to 128 for cats and 256 for cat fruit. And in the equip menu, now an equip and upgrade menu, you would be awarded 2 extra slots for different strategies and lineups, bringing your total to 12 for no extra cat food cost. The reason I'm suggesting doing it in this way is that the Officers Club subscription allows people to gain more from the game, but not in an unfair my cats are better kind of way. They just get their energy quicker, get more rewards out of levels, but will fundamentally find the levels just as easy or challenging as everyone else does. So it doesn't break the game, it makes the game a nicer experience for them. A one-off bundle I find personally pretty soulless and uninteresting. You're just buying cat food and getting nothing particularly special from it other than that gold card. I really feel like this is one of my favourite ideas. So I alluded to reward chances. I changed them because I think they are, in some respects, misleading. What I mean by that is that a likely chance within Battle Cats is actually around 1/3. That, by definition of the word likely, is misleading. Surely a likely chance infers more likely than not. In mathematical terms, that is over 50% likely. Thus, I would change the naming system of reward likelihood to this. Certainty as it is, 100% a probability of 1 out of 1. Likely chance, 0.66 or 2/3. That would be up from the third that it misleadingly currently is. 50-50 chance would be, indeed, a 50-50 chance. Then there'd be a decent chance, which is now the third, a rare chance, about 0.15, and a very rare chance, 0.05. The numbers are somewhat arbitrary. I just think the most important thing is that we respect likely for what it actually should mean. For all I've talked about growing strange, the one thing that I would change on it is to guarantee an Elder Catfruit seed upon completing the first stage, an Elder Secret. I feel like that's the fairest and simplest thing you can do to change growing strange, and that is the way in which I'd change it. Gives people a chance to slowly build up the ability to have anti-relic units, but doesn't do it in a broken way, because you still need to spend a lot of energy and a lot of time gathering up seeds. And it's still in your interest to be able to do the whole of the stage, because you'd get guaranteed an entire Elder Catfruit for the same energy cost. This would model itself mostly on growing epic, which I think is an epic contribution. The point is that you finish the stage, it should guarantee you something. I think it is cheating players to not do so. The final change is more of an ideology change in the way that the game is updated. There'd be a lot more focus on balance, making bad units better and also feeling able to nerf very good units down a little bit so that we get more of an equitable plane of units so that you can put any one of them in your lineup and they will be just as useful as one another. What I would do is, although there are true forms for most units at the moment, make it that when true forms are added, they are added to a unit because that unit is struggling to be useful in the meta currently. And if somehow, after a true form and talents, a unit still isn't up to scratch, I wouldn't be adverse to the idea of giving it a little performance buff. I would really slow down the pace of updating the game if I could. Now, immediately, that doesn't sound like a very inviting prospect. Definitely don't hire Regit. But my point in saying this is that Battle Cats updates so quickly. It won't be long before we're in double figures. And I think the risk of updating so quickly is that an update loses its significance as an update. I think we shouldn't really be expecting an update every certain amount of time. I think Ponos should work on an important element to add to the game that isn't the sort of standard extra Stories of Legends stages. So for example, in 9.1, although it wasn't publicised very well, we got Growing Epic, a new introduced stage that changes the way we play the game in an important way. And I would make it so that every single update would wait for something like that. The updating pace would be slower, which would bring more significance back to the idea of a game update. And we won't go into ridiculously huge numbers like a clicker game quite as quickly. As for removing, well, I can't really show you myself, but I would remove legend rares. Now, I wouldn't remove the units themselves. They'd become uber rares by name. That is really all that would change, and of course there'd be nerfs if necessary. I think legend rares are a step too far in terms of elitism. Uber rares are uber rare, but there's a way to guarantee getting them in gacha rolls that means most people will have a fair selection of ubers. That makes it a lot easier to tutorial in the game, a lot easier to talk to each other about this unit and that unit and understand what the other person is talking about. A lot easier to have an experience that a lot of other people have in the Battle Cats. And the deliberate rareness of legend rares, the fact that you can't ever guarantee getting one of them, alienates people from being able to do this. It sets up a deliberate divide between those who have legend rares and those who do not. I think that that is a deeply negative move for the game to take. Rather than bringing players together, this is an unneeded additional rarity that only seeks to push them apart from one another. I would phase out legend rares and keep Uber as the top rarity. And the legend cat's eye, from what I've read about that, it acts as any other cat's eye and therefore doesn't seem to serve that much of a purpose. Unless we give it a different purpose, such as being able to upgrade units that you can't normally cat's eye, I feel that I would remove the legend cat's eye because it just seems like something else that's there that doesn't really bring anything new to the table. And as for legends, I would really trim down the number of things that we call legends. You know what legends are? These units here, and the stories of legend. Other than that, every mention of legend will be blatted from the game to save the meaning of the word. We are really, I think, slipping down a slope of legend meaning less and less until everything's a legend and it means nothing. That is what I would do if I was hired into a position of power at Ponos. The principal things that I thought of that I would add, change or remove in the game. My philosophy of doing it is trying to add and change more than I'd remove, because some people will obviously like what is here already, and I personally think that change should be gradual. That's the best way we can have change, because people can adapt to it and not take a reactionary view to it, because things are changing nice and slowly. Position of power or not, this is my job application. I'll be very happy if you hired me. Tar. But should you or should you not, these are some more suggestions in any case. I am fully behind all of the things that I've suggested, especially the idea of having a place for suggestions, because you lot in the comments I'm sure will think of other great things that Ponos could really do with seeing. But that will be that. So on that note, I bid you goodbye and I hope you enjoyed.